You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes, episode 237, 237 episodes. What a accomplishment. We're still going too. So without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, aka Matt Callahan, aka Callie, aka Matty C, etc., and all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vold, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, I will say that with it being Wednesday, I'm thankful we have the show going on right now, and I have a little piece of, you know, at least some peace in life to get away from the trials and tribulations of life and reality within itself, because it's been an eventful last couple hours as we were talking ahead of the program as well. But I will say it don't matter if it's Nolan Ryan, Joe Ryan, or even Bobby Ryan. We got Mikey Ryan coming on here in a few minutes, so that's going to make my day just a little bit better on top of it all.
And he's already here. So speaking of which, we welcome Mikey Ryan
to fantastic promo. Holy moly.
Check out the socials medias. I got you on blast. In the best way possible.
Yeah, all love here for sure. That's the main thing. So, but you know what the cool thing is too, guys, is that, you know, we usually have this draft special with Mikey, you know, beforehand, and obviously, and Mikey had a prior engagement, obviously, on the golf course, which is fun in itself too. But I think we've done maybe a post draft stuff just to see your thoughts on everything and whatnot. So yeah, we're happy to have you on again to talk a little bit about the draft, as well as those Minnesota Wild and the Wolves. I mean, there's a lot of Minnesota sports we got to talk about tonight for the show, so we are really looking forward to chatting with you about that and whatnot. But Voldy, we have one thing we got to do. We had a draft giveaway this past week. Who are the Vikings going to take? Was it O-line, corner, safety? Well, they did take, in fact, O-line. So, as you can see, we had 3 people that picked that with the awesome hat that Voldy has of MinneZona Sports Live, the Adidas hat. Look at that thing. I mean,
Beautiful. Last one also, too. This last one that we have.
That's right. So now we have to decide who gets it. We have 3 people that are up for it right about now. And there's I'd probably say there's one person I hope doesn't get it, but you never know.
Me too.
So let's reveal let's quick reveal who it is that we got going for the hat. Yeah. And that is a Rick Jensen and intern guy Cole Munson. Who would have thunk?
Oh, boy.
So there's a lot of questionable things happening here. But
it'd be funny if all these guys be like, we've already got the hat, or at least whoever wins, like, already.
I don't think any of them do. Let's be honest.
I don't know either. I don't know. I know that Seymour's got one, I think, for sure. And correction as well. This is the second to last hat. I still got one other one besides this one. So.
Okay. So we do
off
have
camera. I've got another one. Yes.
All right. So let's get it going since we got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yes.
Who is winning the Adidas hat?
All right.
Let's go.
Big money. No whammies.
Boom! Yeah. There is. Look, it's a Rick.
Wow.
A Rick Jensen gets a hat. He has a good. He's got a good set of hats, I will say. He's got a stash. Yeah. So now he adds to that stash. He will be receiving the MinneZona Adidas hat. So congratulations, Rick. Woo-hoo. Intern guy didn't get it. We're happy about that. So that's good news. But yeah. So anyway, guys, tonight we're talking draft. The Vikings draft some hopefully guys that are going to make an impact here for our Minnesota Vikings. On the offensive line, we got a wide receiver, we've got a linebacker, a lot to be said about that. So we'll talk about that tonight. Hot take, we were talking Wild, a rough one last night. Just stay on side. Please, stay on side. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And the Wolves have a chance to go in what, Voldy? In what? I forget. Was it? What was it? 5. So we're hoping that that's the case. We'll talk about that. No special segment tonight, but we do have ARA. JJMccarthy, he says he's ready to start, and I agree with him. We'll talk about that, ARA. And the NBA eyeing a international twist for the All-Star game. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. We'll talk about that. And then to round things off, Shedeur slides to the 5th round to those Cleveland Browns. I have a lot to say about that as well. So we got it stacked on deck tonight. And, of course, Shield shoutouts. So, a lot to talk about. Zoners, please let us know if you're going to be watching the Wolves tonight. Obviously, you probably will. And talk about the Wild. We're talk Vikings. So I say we get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
So anyway, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the draft. The draft fallout. The Minnesota Vikings come out of the draft with a couple, guys that we hope can make an impact on this team coming up here. In the first round, the Minnesota Vikings select left guard Donovan Jackson from the Ohio State. Welcome to Minnesota. I will say, I did say this on the show. I don't know if you heard Mikey when you were golfing or not, but I thought they were going to trade back and take Donovan Jackson. But technically, I was right. I was like, boom, we got the guy that I was eyeing. So I'll take it. But Donovan Jackson, he is somebody I feel like is going to make an impact for the Minnesota Vikings. Blake Brandel, I just feel like the best word to describe it is average. And I think the fact that you went and got this guy in the first round, he's a national champion. He had to move to left tackle this past year, and they still won the national championship. So, in my opinion, I think that's a pretty big steal and whatnot. And, I think the Vikings did what they set out to do. They didn't want to trade back. I know there were teams that were calling about, Vikings maybe trading back. But as you guys saw, there were a lot of old linemen being taken like this. Like Zabel, gone. Booker, gone. So there's just a lot of, there are a lot of old linemen taken. I mean, most of them are tackles, I feel like. But a lot of them could move around too. So, Mikey, I asked this of you. What are your thoughts on our first round draft pick, Donovan Jackson? What do you got?
I think it was a fantastic pick given, the run that was at, the offensive lineman position, like you just said. I was in the camp of Gray Zabel. Obviously, I think I said in the comments last week. But Donovan Jackson, great guy. Great pick, I would say, for that. Not only because, he played at, I believe it was All-American level or near All-American level at guard, but then the versatility to go out and be a tackle at the highest level of competition in college is not something you see every day. As an offensive lineman prospect, they're usually very good at one position. You're either very good at guard or you can guard and center can kind of interchange as long as you know how to snap a football well and get your hand back to block. But tackle is a whole different beast compared to the guard position. You're on an island half the time. You might get some chip blocks here or there, but you have to be really athletic to be out at the tackle position, and you have to be strong, strong for it too. I think it's good. Even if somehow Donovan Jackson doesn't turn out, I think he's going to be great at guard. I think we are going to have top 5, if not top 3 offensive line this year, just on paper, for jjmccarthy. But even if it doesn't pan out well, the versatility that he has to be able to play different offensive line positions is huge, because we had this problem last year with when Darisaw went down, right? We had to go get Cam Robinson for basically as a rental option. We had to spend, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd round pick on doing that, which Cam Robinson did fine, but being able to keep that draft capital and just be like, okay, we're going to shift Donovan Jackson out to tackle as needed and then bring in Brandel, which I think your classification is correct as average for Brandel. He has good moments, but he also has bad moments too. He was not the weakest link of the line last year, but he was close. He was close. But having that versatility is huge. And I think Donovan Jackson, I would have liked to see him be taken a little later, if we were able to draft or trade back or anything like that. But as a position of need, it was a great pick.
So with that being said, I kind of look at this from the perspective of, I'm sure the Giants gave them a call and said, here, we want to, get our quarterback and whatnot.
Of course.
But I think from this perspective, they Kwesi kind of was like, we like this guy enough to have him come in and be that kind of mauler, and he is a big dude. I mean, this guy is going to move some top interior D linemen in our division as well. So I do agree with you on that. I think, maybe it would have been smarter for them to trade back. But, I mean, was it going to be Buffalo moving up? Was it going to be, it kind of depends in some of this. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts here on Donovan Jackson? What do you got?
No, if we've seen anything out of the Vikings, it never hurts to have depth on the offensive line. We speak about it year in and year out. Always O-line, 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 because at least one or two guys, and unfortunately this is how it usually goes for the Vikings. You end up losing one or two guys as the season kind of comes along. Unfortunately, we saw it with Darisaw towards the back half of the season in the game against the Rams in the regular season, and guys kind of shifting back and forth. I mean, you've had a lot of ability to try and maneuver around that. Plug in guys like Brandell, and you have, a lot of consistency with Brian O'Neill. Maybe thankfully, unthankfully, we lose Garrett Bradbury as he got let go. So obviously they're going to be a new center looking at how that's going to be developing on that offensive line. But you bring in a young guy that has a certain high enough pedigree with the fact that he was, on a team that played a lot of games last year, obviously national champions. But is it going to be something where it's going to be a depth piece that we're looking maybe a year or so down the road, or is he going to be coming in right away? And he's definitely going to be, battling against Brandell for that left guard spot most likely, or at least competition-wise to see how that's going to match up and how that's going to boast well for him in his play to at least develop as the season kind of comes along with this group of guys that has nothing but veteran experience.
And I feel like I'm like ripping Brandell. And Mikey, you made this. I don't have any beef with him at all. I thought he, like you said, some days he was good, some days he was not as good. The one game that I felt like he played his worst game was the playoff game. He could not. And again, the Rams really do have a good front, a good young front. But I feel like if you add Jackson and Kelly and Fries into this mix, these are big dudes now. I think you don't have that problem, of those guys coming at you. But Sam Darnold just kind of, turned into a pumpkin, unfortunately, that playoff game. So I think with Jackson here, he's going to be coming into a great situation. He's obviously going to compete for the job, but I'd be shocked if he wasn't starting week one at left guard. But like you said, I like this. We all like the pick. Let's just see how it all, is put together from here. But, he's the type of guy I feel like that's ready to come in and maul some Packers over. Lions, Bears, oh my, let's go. So
Yeah.
I think this is a solid pick. So let's quick go over to some of the other guys that were drafted. At 102, the Vikings in the third round drafted Ty Felton out of Maryland. They traded 5 spots from 97 before making this pick, adding pick 142 as compensation. So, Mikey, what are your thoughts on Ty Felton? He's a fast guy, runs a 4.3, and he's kind of a bigger guy, and he can bring the ball down, and I think he might be competing for wide receiver 3 with Naylor. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. That's where I kind of see him. He is the wide receiver 3. I would classify him kind of the same way that Detroit uses like Jameson Williams. He's like your home run hitter, I think. Probably, I don't know if he's going to be their like special teams. I haven't looked too much into what else that he's done. But the speed is there, 4.37, I believe. That is unbelievably fast. To an already stacked wide receiver room with the best wide receiver in the game, Jefferson, and then the best number 2 wide receiver in the game, I would classify in Jordan Addison. Like, you have a plethora of talent. Like, they have literally gone all in on JJ McCarthy to where they're saying if he cannot thrive here, he's not thriving anywhere else. I think it was an interesting pick. I was hoping more for secondary help in this spot, but the talent is obviously there, right? If they're looking at their board round 3 and going, who's the best player available at like key positions, they probably had wide receiver 3 to bring in some competition there for Naylor and other people to see like, okay, what can we do here? This works out. I am a little concerned about how he's got a bigger frame, but not so much in size. He's a little bit on the slender size, so I'm worried about contact takes, especially at that wide receiver 3 spot. You're going to be over the middle a lot, and usually in the slot there. But KOC moves around these people all the time. Like, you see Jefferson in the slot maybe like 50% of the times anyway. So who knows what's going to happen there. I think it's a solid pick. I'm going to trust the organization that this one's good and that we didn't need to address corner here and we're addressing it somewhere else because I'm a little worried about depth still. But in terms of a boomer bust type of prospect pick, I think this is one that is a good selection.
I'm glad you brought up who I feel like they were targeting somebody before they traded back. And I think that person was Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. The Falcons took him right before that. And it's like, gosh darn it, we would have had a perfect setup for him and Harry together. But I think that's why they traded back. And I do agree with you. I feel like, the secondary, maybe we should have, gone secondary there for sure. But at the same time, Jalen Naylor's so hit or miss last year. I like the guy. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like, if he was more sure-handed, because he dropped a lot of footballs, but he needs to go through some more development, and maybe he can, hold on to that wide receiver 3 spot. But them drafting Felton tells me they don't fully trust Jalen Naylor right now. So that's kind of how I think of it too. So, Shield, what do you think?
I mean, definitely getting a little bit more depth on that side, too, is something worth noting, because we've seen in the past how drafting wide receivers out of Maryland for the Vikings has worked out in the past, i.e. Stephon Diggs. Of course, he was a later round selection for the Vikings, and, well, he started off his career pretty solidly in many respects. But I think it's a great thing that you brought up, too, with the Jalen Naylor situation. I think it's definitely something to at least put a little bit of pressure on, because, competition does ultimately bring out the best in a lot of guys, and having somebody like Felton thrown into the mix, and he could definitely be a spot guy here when needing to spell, one or two in Addison, or even in a situation Addison or Jalen Naylor too. That could definitely be something that not a lot of guys are going to be expecting him right off the bat, because we saw how throwing Naylor into the mix this past season, and basically a full season with Jalen Naylor and the production that he had, fairly solid, even with some of those key drops. And you also throw in, of course, a pretty legendary receiver and receiving coach now, Keenan McCardell, and be able to coach him up. I think it's going to play well for him, just based off of getting under that learning tree of McCardell. And of course, you got JJ, you've got Jordan Addison, you got Naylor, and a pretty stacked wide receiver room to where they can be able to work off each other well enough, and hopefully will be something that can add another little piece for the Vikings.
Yeah, and I think, adding more weapons to this offense, why the hell not? I mean, I think that helps immensely. So, The next pick that they made, and I feel like they're on to something on this one. Like, I really do. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins from Georgia, defensive tackle. He is very versatile, and I think he can really learn under Allen and Hargrave and develop it in a place where he can be a very good starter. Now, in the assessment of him, Lance Zierlein says that he didn't get a lot of opportunity because Georgia's D-line stacked, and I think he didn't have that many opportunities to kind of showcase his skills in order to be be a starter for them and whatnot. But knowing what B-Flow can do with this defense and what we can expect from D lineman in this case, and Harrison Phillips, I can't forget him, and whatnot. I don't know. There's something about this guy. I like this guy a lot. So, Mikey, what are your thoughts on Tyrion Ingram Dawkins from Georgia?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick. The history with defensive linemen in late rounds for Minnesota Vikings turns out to be pretty good. I mean, of recent memory, Everson Griffin,
Bing bong,
Daniil Hunter, like these are third, fourth round guys that were developmental prospects that truly blossomed into something good. And you could even go further back, and you want to recall like John Randall and all those yesteryear. All those yesteryear talents. Yeah, undrafted. You're correct. Mm-hmm. I think this guy, like you said, he's versatile, has an interesting toolkit. You just don't – he's kind of just like a question mark in terms of, like, what has he done, kind of really. Everything's there for, like, the tangible stuff, right? He's big-bodied. He's good. He's good pass rush. The question marks really arises. The run defense was like one of the key things that I saw that needed a little bit of work, and then the high gear, like if he was stunted like once or twice in the pass rush, he kind of didn't give up, but he got stymied, and the offensive lineman was able to just kind of corral him, and he was a non-factor for the rest of the play. Those things can be teached, especially like the offensive run, the run fits, can be taught. Bulk up a little bit if you want to play the 3 technique in our defense, or if you want to be more versatile and move out to, the 3 technique or the outside linebacker spot. We can work on that. He's a very interesting prospect. The Vikings are always good, like I said, at developing defensive line talent. This is a good system for him to come into, because if B-Flow finds that you're good at something, he's going to put you in those spots. He will utilize your strengths as much as he can. So I think it's, for a 5th rounder, all these guys are a lot of flyers. A lot of the times you're bringing them in, like, let's see what happens. I think it's a good pick. Again, the secondary thing, I think that's going to be a theme for me this entire draft. Is the secondary is still it's a question mark at depth, but I trust in the organization. They have a plan here. So,
Voldy?
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. The first thing I thought of when this pick was, selected by the Vikings was very much Everson Griffin. Of course, not right away we saw the playmaking prowess out of Everson. It took a couple of years, 2-3 years down the road. But with how much bodies that we have in that D-line room, especially at the D tackle position, it could very well be an opportunity for Ingram Dawkins to at least be able to learn the pass sets and at least how to move and stick and drive a little bit more, and could very well be a late bloomer as well. Of course, talking about the likes of, Everson and then Daniil Hunter on top of it. But like even guys that we've seen like DJ Wanham, I mean, he certainly had a very blossoming coming out a few years ago, and now unfortunately he's moved on to greener pastures, but still putting up consistent enough ability to warrant him on an NFL roster. But I definitely like how he is able to kind of mold into what B-Flow is looking at with his scheme, with the defensive scheme, and be able to, adjust that from, of course, the great D-line room they had at Georgia to how he can bring that into the NFL with as many veterans as they have in the Vikings locker room right now, especially that D-line position. That's going to be very, very good for him in his start of his career.
We'll see how he does here. So the next pick, we're going to get to Kobe King from Penn State, linebacker. I think they do need some depth on the inside linebackers because we saw Ivan Pace go down.
Yep.
Obviously, that didn't help. Cashman went down too. So the Vikings were going with Grugier Hill. Who was another guy? I can't even think who the other inside was. Oh, man. Hard.
Yes.
I'll think about it. But adding Kobe King, I think, is smart because, he's a guy that, was very good at Penn State, has a plethora of good linebackers that come out of there. He's probably going to be special teams and everything like that. But at the same time, I think he can be an asset on special teams and work his way up, and you never know what could happen. So, Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, in terms of what his abilities are right now, I think if he needed to play, he can. He is more of like a 2000s middle linebacker. Remember the big guys that would run straight downfield and stop the run. I think he's extremely good at that. Where you see weaknesses is when he is asked to go side to side or pass coverage. That's kind of where you're starting to see his talent fall off. He is a bigger guy, of course, so that does take a factor into it. But I see him kind of as a role player. Maybe if you wanted to do like a classical 4-3 front, he'd be your third linebacker. That kind of Sam or Will, if you want, on either side. More of a run fit kind of guy, which the Vikings do need. We were not super great at stopping the run. We've obviously addressed that with Jonathan Allen and all the D tackles, all the D tackle and all the other guys that we brought in. But this adds another piece to if you need to bring in like a heavy front and you need a linebacker in there, you could think about bringing in Kobe King. He will have to earn his spot. Special teams is going to be where he makes his living currently. But that's how a lot of people start, and if you develop your talents and stuff like that, you can potentially make it as either a special teamer or hopefully a starter. I like his upside, what he can bring and what his strengths are currently. It's just he's got to develop counters to his weakness right now. I think we always say this about defensive talent. Brian Flores will find a spot for you if he finds an interesting key thing about you. And I think we'll be hearing Kobe King's name this season. Would be my guess. Probably in goal line situations would be my guess. Maybe to stop the tush push here or there. But I think it'll be an interesting thing to see how his career turns out. With these later round picks, it's always a toss-up, like I said, for the last one, but this one will be interesting.
Yeah. Shield, anything to add?
I mean, on top of it, we definitely could use a little bit more since it's of course, just getting bodies on the field with Ivan Pace. Of course, they did bring back Eric Wilson too, but mainly special teamer guy, even in his first run with the Vikings, definitely a nice piece to have thrown into there. And it's just very interesting to see because you're going to see guys get their bumps and bruises along the way and how that's going to play on top of it. Bo Richter, another guy coming back from last year. You throw Kobe King in there. I think this is just more about, of course, you look at what you have right now and then what you can add on to with the future. I think Kobe King could be a really nice development project for the Vikings. If not, make an impact, not if not defensively, maybe just adding a guy on special teams too.
Who knows, Voldy? He could be a "Where are they now?" guy at some point.
Exactly. We never know.
You never know. All right, our last one, and then I want to get into the Vikings trading for Sam Howell, and I do want to jump a little to the extension that happened as well. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Last one we got. Tight end Gavin Bartholomew from Pittsburgh. Guys, we have our new Johnny Munt. Yes. Yeah.
Real Chad. Real Chad. I love it.
I like this pick. And the reason why is because I saw some of his highlights. I feel like he's a little bit more athletic than Johnny Munt. And I don't, and it's no hate against Johnny Munt. He was fantastic. Goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Best of luck to him. But Gavin Bartholomew, he's a little bit quicker. I think he needs to be a little bit better in the blocking scheme because it seems like he's lacking in that area. But with development, TJ Hawkinson with him, Josh Oliver with him as well, I think this could turn out to be, could be a sneaky little pick. I don't know. I kind of like this guy a little bit. So what are your thoughts on Bartholomew, Mikey?
Yeah, I think I sent you a couple of his highlights, Matt. He's definitely athletic, can catch very well. Was mainly asked to be more of a vertical threat kind of pass catcher at Pitt. You are correct, and he needs to be better in blocking. He has the aggression in his blocks, I've seen, but he struggles in maintaining and finishing the blocks, and as a third, if he wants to make that third spot for tight ends that usually NFL carries 3 tight ends, you're going to need to block and you're going to need to do it well. Because you're going to be asked to be in heavy situations, and it's going to be like you're going to get maybe a route or two. You're going to be asked to stay in and block a 5 or 7 technique defensive end, and they're going to be bigger than you sometimes. And you need to hold it for a little bit. You can't just you can't just throw the first punch and be like, I did my job, kind of thing. It's an interesting prospect. The intangibles are there. The talent is there. I think we just have to develop them. I'm interested to see how it goes. This is probably going to be a tightly contested training camp battle for this third spot. We'll probably bring in some undrafted free agent or maybe a free agency signing here or there before training camp starts up. But this is definitely a spot that is needed, and we'll see how it works out.
Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers to the side of Bartholomew aren't really all that great considering where he was picked. I mean, there's even a couple of guys that were undrafted free agents brought in by the Vikings, like Ben Urosic and Bryson Nesbitt, that were ranked just ahead of Bartholomew. But I think what he brings in, of course, is a little bit more of the receiving side of things. But like Mikey was talking about, working on the pass blocking and being able to hold said blocks, nothing like that can't be fixed through playing special teams, and especially at that third tight end position, might get a couple opportunities like Mikey said, in the the run blocking down on the goal line type situations, those heavy packages. But wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that does end up on the roster, sees quite a bit of time on special teams, especially on kickoff returns, and quite possibly maybe some protections on the punting side of things too.
We'll see what happens. And again, training camp is where, because remember, Ivan Pace was one guy, exactly. You got to have a drink to get that rolling as well. So
it's been a day.
It's been a day. I know. I understand.
Leave me alone.
the the Vikings traded down not once but twice.
Woof.
And the big one was the Minnesota Vikings getting the backup quarterback that they wanted in Sam Howitzer Arm Howell. Get it? No, I'm just kidding. This guy, again, he kind of comes into the Vikings, with some experience, not as much as some others like a Sam Darnold per se, but he was kind of thrown into a situation where he was kind of forced to start. Like they kind of were like, Ron Rivera's like, you're the starter. Like, wait, what? What's going on? And he did okay. He wasn't terrible by any means, but there's some growth to be had. But, I feel like any backup QB the Vikings get, KOC's going to know what to do. It's just a fact at this point. But I think Sam Howell was a good pickup to be the backup to JJMcCarthy and whatnot. But, I think this kind of ends the Rodgers talk, hopefully. And we could kind of officially move the hell on from that. But let's start with Voldy. Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Vikings trading for Sam Howell?
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting trade. I mean, me personally, if we were going to trade for a Seattle quarterback that wasn't Sam Darnold, me personally, at a quarterback university in Missouri, I would have preferred Drew Lock. We just got signed back over there. They had a quarterback log jam there in Seattle, so obviously they pick up a little bit of draft capital while we get a guy out of it. This is a guy that was drafted by Washington at the time of the Commanders to replace ultimately Carson Wentz and that debacle in Washington that Carson Wentz ended up over in our nation's capital. But this is, again, needed a veteran quarterback, minus going out and getting a guy like an Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, quite possibly getting the ultimate get back with bringing back Kirk Cousins with everything there. That certainly would have been something to behold to, but I definitely respect the fact of getting that depth at the quarterback position. I mean, they did sign Max Brosmer from the Gophers as another undrafted free agent. Very interesting to see who ends up at that quarterback 3 spot for the Vikings. But Howell will definitely get himself accustomed to the system that KOC has, and should be quite interesting what he can provide in that quarterback room for the Vikings.
Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a solid move. You essentially give up what was it, like a 4th or 5th round pick to get a 5th round pick back in a quarterback. I'm not opposed to having Sam Howell. I think he's pretty average, maybe I would put him at. He was really thrown in, like you said, to the fire with the Commanders and how discombobulated, disorganized. Where's the thesaurus for every name for the situation that's just terrible as the Commanders were in 2023. And he didn't
dumpster fire.
He did okay. Almost 4,000 passing yards, I believe, with that. He was trying to repeat the infamous Jameis 30 for 30, but he went 21 for 21 instead. But
hey, take it. Take it.
Yeah, take it. It's not bad. I think he still has like some unprovenness to him. I trust KOC. He's proven himself to be the quarterback whisperer as of late. He can basically take, Joe Schmo off the streets and probably make him pass for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Especially with the talent that we have around around any quarterback in this offense. He'll learn. He'll get the system up. I'm praying nothing happens to J.J. McCarthy and we don't see Sam Howell this season, except for maybe garbage time or maybe during the preseason. But if called upon, I think he can put in some time and do okay, better than probably like Nick Mullins or anything like that. So.
Anymore, but you never know. With let's hope that it's Howell doesn't have to play as much. Now that we have McCarthy taking the reins here. So, yeah, I just was curious on that. And then real quick, since I know we got to get to Wild and Wolves here, but he's back. He's back for an extra year. The Gangster signs a 1-year extension, $22 million. Yeah, let's ballpark that.
It's 23,
I think it was.
23. Tate loves it. I love it. Mikey loves it. Anything to add with the Gink extension, Mikey? What do you got?
I mean, not much. We've seen his production last year. He was unbelievable. He was super good at sniffing out the screens and trying to take them back to the house. I think this is a great pick. Brian Flores has proven that he knows Ginkel's strengths, and Ginkel played extremely well in this defense last year. Absolutely needed signing. I like it, and hopefully he stays here for longer into the future.
That's the hope. The Gangster. He's coming for you. Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, this is definitely a guy that we needed to bring back, especially with the production that he had last season as being a legitimate starter in the league. Of course, he did play sparingly in his time in Miami, very spotty, positions for him on and off the field for Van Ginkel, but getting a true chance to start on the defensive side, and he took well in full advantage when fully healthy, and definitely needed to bring him back for sure.
Gink is about to get another pick six, and who knows what game it'll come from. The schedule's supposed to release the 17th, right? Yeah, the 17th,
14th, something
15th.
like that.
Close enough. But yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, Gink has been phenomenal. We need to get production, little bit more production from Dallas Turner, obviously, because I think eventually we want him to make an impact here too. So yeah, that's gonna do it for some Vikings talk. Again, it's gonna be it'll be a long off season, but again, the draft's fun. We can talk about that, and who knows? Vikings probably make a signing for a corner or something, or safety. I don't know. Who knows?
Let's hope.
Let's hope. So, all right. We got to start off on a little bit of a painful note. The Minnesota Wild are down 3-2 to the Golden Knights right now. Yes, I know. They unfortunately have lost both 2 straight games in OT. They could have won both of those games, and they were unable to because of what? Mental mistakes. Now, I want to say, and I want to give them credit here, and I'm not trying to bash them by any means, but this kind of shows, whenever it comes to the Wild, they have it. They outplay a team, but then all of a sudden, the team that they outplay usually ends up winning. It is the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen in an NHL hockey team. But this game last night, all it took was a skate to be onside, and Ryan Hartman goes down and puts it in the net. The Wild are, everyone's going crazy. I mean, the Wild are probably have it won. They review it, and of course, that's what happens to the Minnesota Wild, and they're playing for their lives here on tomorrow night in the XL Energy Center. So, Voldy, I ask of you this. I mean, is there any shot? Is there any shot that the Minnesota Wild can still win this series and finally turn the corner on not giving up? Because I think it was like their past couple playoff appearances, they had a 2-1 lead and they lost it. Can they change it against this team? What do you think?
I mean, the fact that they haven't been swept or a gentleman's sweep in 5 against Vegas, considering that they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league, second best in the Western Conference as well, certainly bodes to their favor. And Philip Gustafsson has played out of his mind in this series, and he has definitely held his own, especially with a shortened playoff resume as opposed to the other side for the entire Golden Knights squad, which is 2 years removed from winning the Stanley Cup. And that certainly does bode well for them. They have a chance. If we've seen anything throughout the playoffs and the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, you have a hot goaltender, you're going to go a long way. We've seen it year in and year out. If it's one thing that we've seen, goal scoring and a good goaltender. Now, the Wild, of course, do suffer at times when it comes to which goaltender are we going to start and how's that going to play out for us in the series matchup-wise. And, a lot of things coming into the series was, okay, the lack of scoring besides Boldy, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Kirill Kaprizov. They've done their fair share to shoulder the burden in that area, but the goaltending has definitely responded in kind response for the Wild. I think they definitely have a chance. It's going to be, obviously limiting the chances that the Golden Knights do have, because just about every game that the Wild have played against, the Knights, they've been outshot, except for, the contest last night, which was relatively even, but the Golden Knights have put up plenty of shots and have definitely given Gustafsson plenty of chances to make a mistake, but he certainly held his own. I think the Wild definitely have a chance for sure.
Mikey, anything to add? What are your thoughts? I mean, these past few games, don't get me wrong, have been very exciting. I mean, the Wild they're in it. I mean, it's not like they're getting smoked or anything like that. They're playing well. It's just that those mistakes that have been killing them. What do you think?
Yeah. I want to be hopeful. I think they still have a shot. This series kind of like the Timberwolves, like on paper, this should have been over already, kind of, right? Like the Golden Knights should have already been on to the next round, but the Wild, they've been hurt a lot of this year from what I remember, and now they're finally healthy coming into the playoffs. I think they're not going down without a fight. I know that for sure. I think they can probably take this game. They're at home. For this next one, Game 6, it really will probably come down to that Game 7. I think it's like, who knows at this point, because the Wild have been outplaying them the entire year, but it takes one time for the Golden Knights to show what they've done all season, to be like, oh, this series is over, kind of, right? I'm still hopeful, but it's going to be a long shot.
It is going to be a long shot. So I asked this of Voldy. I think you said Wild in 7. Are you still in that belief right now? What do you got?
Yes, I am definitely in the belief, because they certainly do have a chance. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov's got 5 goals already in the postseason. They're already through 5 games in the playoffs. If they can get production beyond Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Matt Boldy, they definitely have a chance. Of course, they've seen a little bit of mix. Matt Zuccarello's kind of showed up here and there, but they need some of these lower lines to put something together and be strongly defensively. Of course, they're going to hold stout with Faber, with Brodin. Bogosian has kind of stepped up as of late. Of course, Spurgeon and Middleton are guys that are clogging up minutes as well, but you get a lot of guys there, John Merrill, and like I said, with Bogosian, see a little bit less ice time, but defensively, they need to hold things out and definitely continue to push against this much deeper team in the Vegas Golden Knights. But goaltending's got to be lights out in order to force a Game 7. But they definitely have a chance for sure.
So I want to bring up a couple of these mistakes. One, obviously in game 4, the Wild were outplaying them in OT. And unfortunately, they weren't able to, put the puck in the net. They had chances and everything like that. The only goof up that happened was when Middleton was trying to, Vegas was making their push, and Middleton failed to get it out of the zone. Yep. They took advantage of that, put the puck in the net, game over. Which sucks because they played really well, and it just takes one. It takes one mistake.
Can't make mistakes.
With that. And then, fast forward to game 5, you have a guy go offsides, and that's going to haunt him for the rest of his career and everything like that. But at the same time, this is something that you cannot afford to do against a team that has a pedigree of playing well in these playoffs. And so you go into OT, and then you brought up this guy already, Merrill. Completely missed his guy on that final goal, and it ended up costing the Minnesota Wild that game. So don't be the team that makes the mistake. And the Wild have done that not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 key mistakes. Eliminate those, and I think they got a shot. So I'm gonna go Wild in 7. I know, you're such a homer or whatever. I don't care. I like the way they've been playing. I've enjoyed it. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, I again hate to be the homer, but it's Wild in 7. I'm gonna believe until that final home is buzzed. I think I cannot have another first round exit for this team. It's just hurtful every time it happens.
Last time the Wild won a playoff series, it's been since 2015 the Wild have won a playoff series, believe it or not.
A decade.
Yep.
Sucks. It really sucks. So
and it'll be a missed opportunity if the Wild do not bring in recently retired NHL all-time hits leader Cal Clutterbuck to say, let's play hockey, because it is a golden opportunity. Of course, I wore the jersey last week, got my Cal Clutterbuck jersey right here. Forgot to put it away this past week. But if they don't have him say, let's play hockey, I think game 4 they had, I think they had Nico Medved say, let's play hockey.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You're going to pander to them on that. But still, they got to have Clutterbuck do let's play hockey. I know he's living out east, out on Long Island or whatever. But, the guy started his career with the Wild. He's got to do it at least one more time for the home fans.
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. So... go Wild. Big game tomorrow. And, we'll keep you up to date with that. Guys, they doubted us. They doubted us, man. Tate's got it. Mikey's got it. Voldy's got it. The Minnesota Timberwolves, this last game, game 4, I'm awestruck with this team. Anthony Edwards, 43 points. Unfreaking believable. And Voldy, you know what we got to do here. In the 4th quarter, Anthony Edwards was clutch in the 4th quarter. But you know who also was clutch? Our tribal chief, Nas Mother effing Reed. Yes! He was hitting threes. He was showing. They were not backing down. LeBron was crying. Luka was crying. Oh, no call, no call, no call. No, we just said, nah, we're just going to kick your guys' ass. And that's what they did. These game 3, game 4, they're like, nah, we're just going to kick y'all ass, and we're going to see you in LA, and it's going to be Wolves in 5. So, question for you guys is this. Do the Wolves get in 5? Voldy, what do you got?
You know, the one thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if we've gotten official word yet because he exited early in that fourth quarter. Mike Conley, is he out for tomorrow night, or is he just a little banged up from stepping on Rudy Gobert? Because I think that does play a role. Of course, he played 25 minutes, only had 2 points. You know, not overly great numbers, but is a facilitator out on the floor. Now, if he's going to be out for tomorrow or out for tonight. The next contest, for tonight, I should say, that is going to be a little bit of a deciding factor in that. But I feel like if you bring things, adjust accordingly, the Timberwolves do have enough around them to at least adjust from that point. Of course, Terrence Shannon Jr. got a little bit of time in there and really trying to adjust things from that point. You've got the closeout ability with Anthony Edwards on both ends of the floor. You know, Julius Randle trying to provide some optimism, at least with his play on both ends of the floor too. And depth. Depth is kind of the thing that has really helped out. Of course, Naz Reid coming off the bench is 12 points, but a big factor with his play overall. I think if Mike Conley is obviously a situation of how much healthy he's going to be at his advanced age could be a deciding factor, but I feel like the way the Timberwolves have carried momentum here from Game 4 into Game 5, I think they get it done here in Game 5.
It's big. It's big, Voldy. Mikey, what are your thoughts? Is it Wolves in 5? What do you got?
Oh, absolutely. It's Wolves in 5. Ant is
Straight cash, homie.
unbelievable tear. Unbelievable tear this playoff series. It's like I was worried about this team coming into this season because we had the Cat trade, and was wondering if everything could gel together. It was a little rocky to start the season, but now everything seems to be coming full circle. Everything seems to be gelling, and the Lakers have no answer for Anthony Edwards. And when Anthony Edwards decides to deal, everybody's hitting this series. Naz Reid looks unbelievable from the 3-point line. And Jaden McDaniels is locking up Luka, and Ant as well. Luka has been a factor this series for sure, but he has not taken over games like I had worried about. Absolutely. I don't think the Lakers, I think LeBron is on his last legs. He looks like a shade of his former self this series. There have been moments where he's turned it on and it's like, oh, is LeBron finally coming back? But then he's gone in an instant. It feels like. I feel like they do not have a chance in this game. I think it's Wolves in 5, and Shannon Sharp can suck it.
Well, one thing, this, and again, I think he's kind of understood, this going to be over. And this whole Wolves in 5. Nobody gave this team a chance. Nobody. And the damn national media, we've talked about it on this show. Voldy knows this. Mikey knows this. Every zoner knows this. Oh, Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. No. The Wolves, if you look at this team, who has the better roster? Who has proven in crunch time who's going to make those big shots? Ant, Naz, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Oh, by the way, Jaden McDaniels. Yeah. Hey, Jaden McDaniels. Dante DiVincenzo. He didn't have the best game in Game 4, but I think he's going to play very well tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing him play tonight. Mike Conley, I'm glad you brought that up, Voldy. I think that is a question mark. But I think they can fend without Minnesota Mike. Yep. But I also know that Mike Conley is going to work his ass off to make sure that, he's doing what he needs to do to help this team win. Now, with that being said, Julius Randle. How about Julius Randle? This dude has been killing the Los Angeles Lakers, driving to the basket, fadeaway shots, guarding Luka, and kind of locking him up. Luka's made his shots, don't get me wrong. He'll cry and bitch and moan about it, like always. But, again, Julius Randle, it has been playing, and people like, oh, he's a ball hog and everything like that. He's starting to gel and understand what to do with this team. So, that game last Sunday was incredible. They have shown they can beat anybody when they play like that. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I think this is going to be a fight tonight, man. I think LeBron's going to be like, I'm not going out like people are expecting us to. And I think Luka's going to be under the same thing. I think they're going to give the Wolves a little bit of trouble. But I think when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, Ant wants to beat LeBron. And he wants to beat LeBron bad. If you didn't notice that from Game 4 when he was shoving him, saying, like, bring it, old man. Come on. You know, like, he was shoving him around and like, I ain't backing down from you. We ain't backing down from you. Everyone didn't give us a chance. That's fine. We're going to kick your ass. And that's exactly what they've done. So, with that being said, I am, in fact, wearing my Anthony Edwards jersey right here as well. Yeah. So that's what I got going on. Ant is what number? 5. Wolves in 5. And I did take Wolves in 5 for our picks and whatnot. And Mikey's got Wolves in 5. Voldy, initially you had in 6. But
I did have them 6.
Do you have them in 5 now? Wolves in 5. I'm telling you, guys, I screenshotted something today, actually, and I think you guys are going to like this. Now, let's get the win, obviously. Here's what I got. LeBron tried, Luka cried, Shannon lied. Wolves in 5. So let's win. Let's make sure we win. So if that happens, I'm getting that shirt. Oh God. So anyway, that's gonna do it for Tater Tot Hot Take, guys. That was so much fun talking Vikings. Sure. We fit in Wild. We fit in Wolves. Big game tonight. So much fun. So, Mikey, we appreciate you hopping on tonight. And go Wolves, go Wild. And we're happy with the draft. And we'll see any other stuff happens. And we'll see any big, if there's any big news with our Minnesota Vikings and whatnot. And we'll keep you in the loop. So, thanks for hopping on tonight, mate.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
You know it. All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. So, that's going to do it for Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. Tate is feeling good about the Wolves. I'm feeling good about the Wolves. Voldy's feeling good about the Wolves. We'll keep you in tune. But the Rockets, who are down 3-1, they are destroying the Golden State Warriors. Last time I looked, Voldy, 83-46.
Damn.
The Rockets. Yeah. They're kicking ass.
Damn.
Crazy. So.
Hell no.
To the no. We got to get that soundbite on here. No. But yeah, so I'll keep in tune with that, see what we got. Because that game, after that game, it's Wolves-Lakers. So anyway, let's get to A or A. We're going to be talking about jjmccarthy. He's feeling confident, ready to start for the Vikes. Let's go. And then we got sheduersanders falling to the 5th round to the Browns. We'll talk about that. And then to round, or wait, no, we do have an extra one. I'll put that in. New UHC name leaked. That's the Utah Hockey Club There's a new name. We will talk about that. And then the NBA eventually eyeing an international twist for the All-Star game. Will that help? We'll talk about that as well. So I say we get it going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
Alrighty, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Of course, coming off the tail end of all Vikings discussion we had about the draft, well, a player that was drafted last season is a full go for the spring. That is the potential to be a quarterback one, that being jjmccarthy, a full participant in the offseason program, which began this past week, of course, with JJ getting the full reins of being able to participate, coming off the torn meniscus surgery that he had this past fall. Also regaining the weight that he lost from, of course, the surgery that did take place, and of course the recovery that comes in between that time, is a full go. And of course he was quoted as saying, when speaking with local reporters at a press conference, he said that, quote, "I know I'm ready to start because of all the work I've put in, just the confidence in my skills and abilities, and just being able to do my job." Now, with this being thrown in, of course, it is being slotted that JJ will be quarterback one into the, of course, the offseason with training camp and, of course, week one, a few months away, to say the least. But with everything that's thrown into it, with, of course, the recovery, the surgery, and now JJ being a full spring participant for the Vikings, is it absurd or approved? And I just had it right in front of me. Pause for dramatic effect. Is it absurd or approved? The Vikings will be in good hands with JJ as quarterback one coming this fall.
Just to give an update, 93-64 Rockets in the third quarter. Yeah. It's, the Rockets just got to keep it going. I mean, they got to get this dub. But anyway, J.J. McCarthy, when he went up to the podium for that press conference and everything like that, that young man was oozing confidence, absolutely oozing confidence. I think between the time of when he was at that golf thing with Kay Adams, and obviously, she asked him if the Vikings said he's the starter and everything like that. And he kind of said, like, no, they haven't told me, but I want to earn it. And then now you have J.J. McCarthy being like, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go as QB1. This is what you want to hear from a quarterback. I mean, did we even hear those words with Christian Ponder? Did we even hear those words with, previous quarterbacks and everything like that? This kid oozes confidence, and he wants to be great. He technically, and this is what people have said, he had a redshirt year. And learning defenses, learning everything when it comes to a game plan, and learning from KOC and whatnot. And he, I think, has the respect of not only the coaching staff, but his teammates. And that is super important with J.J. McCarthy. And, he's not going to beat around the bush. He's going to work his ass off. And he is a guy that I think that is going to make an impact starting week one. And we talk about the offensive line all the time here. They're going to be good and whatnot. But, injuries happen and everything, we know that. But this tells me that the Vikings are kind of like, all right, now let's see what happens when the lights come on. You're playing in U.S. Bank Stadium or somewhere else. I don't know if they'll be away or home for the first game. Let's see what he can do under the pressure of the NFL, because, he hasn't played a regular season NFL down yet. So, It's got my stamp of approval for sure, and I go, oh, it's such a homer, excuse me, homer thing to say, Matty C. Well, I mean, if you didn't watch that press conference or seen what he does on the social medias and how he conducts himself, you would say differently. You would absolutely say differently. So it has my stamp of approval 100%. I think we're in good hands, and if something, were to happen, again, we do have our backup, and this shuts down the whole Aaron Rodgers stuff. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
Coming into, of course, this past season, of course, everybody was slotting JJ McCarthy to be the starter. And, Sam Darnold play a wonderful camp and ultimately got that starting nod. And look how that turned out for the Vikings. I just have always been an advocate for rookie quarterbacks, whether drafted high, drafted late, to not play the first year, or at least not play, crucial snaps. If you know what I mean, not be thrown right into the mixer right off the bat. They need to know how to develop their game plan, or at least be able to see what an NFL game week is like. Preparation on and off the field, taking care of your body, getting your routine down leading into, of course, a game day, and ultimately have the headset on and hearing what the play calling is like and how they choose and how they develop what they're going game plan, play by play and things of that sort. I've always been an advocate of that because we've seen too many high draft pick quarterbacks get burned out way too quickly, and it ultimately affects how their career pans out. We've seen it time and time again, especially in more recent years. Now, the thing that worked out well, besides the injury, is the fact that JJ was in the mix, at least when it came to being with the team. Of course, the tail end of the regular season, he was traveling with the team, recovering from the injury, but also still traveling, how things work on the road, at home, and being a member of that, still being an active member in the locker room during those much crucial games down the stretch for the Vikings. I feel more than comfortable with him being the number one quarterback. Of course, there are three other guys on the roster now. Sam Howell, you still have Brett Rippon left over from last season, a late signing and a late pickup from the Chicago Bears. And of course, Max Brosmer from the Gophers, signed as an undrafted rookie free agent. Of course, a lot of those guys are going to be in the mix, of course, quarterback 2 and also that third spot on the roster, with most likely, of course, practice squad posting on there for the fourth guy. I feel more than comfortable. I definitely have my stamp of approval for him, just getting that first full season as an opportunity to sit back and at least learn while recovering from injury. I have no problem with it whatsoever. It's got my stamp of approval.
Love it. Got to. So, next one, Voldy.
All right, I'm going to assume that's my cue right there, with my internet still being nothing but laggy on top of it. Well, of course, one of the biggest surprises out of the NFL draft this past weekend, of course, we were waiting on pins and needles. I know I certainly was. Where are we going to see the next prodigal one, that being Sheduersanders, the savior of the NFL, going to get drafted in the top 5? Well, if we were talking top 5, I'm thinking maybe top 5 picks of the first round. Well, Shedeur slid in the top 5, that being the 5th round of the NFL draft. On day number 3, the Cleveland Browns did select Sheduersanders with the pick, I believe it being number 144 overall. Do not quote me directly on that one, out of the 5th round. But Cleveland drafting another quarterback. Of course, earlier in the draft, they did select Oregon's Dillon Gabriel with the 3rd round. But with the huge slide that was going from a possible top draft pick all the way down to day 3 in the 5th round, with Sheduersanders just getting lambasted, of course, on social media, and of course reports coming out about how he was a terrible interview, very selfish, very cocky in his overall play. Is it absurd or approved? Will Sheduersanders be one of Cleveland's 3rd quarterbacks coming into the season? Because the roster does pertain. You get the 2 quarterbacks and the emergency third guy on an NFL game
Right.
day, of course, with the whole COVID thing in previous years. Is it absurd or proof? Will Sanders be one of the team's 3 QBs for the season opener?
Voldy, I have a question for you. What's the most what's the worst pie in the world, would you say?
Humble pie.
That's what Sanders endured at the NFL draft. Now, I wouldn't say that it's all Sanders, because I feel like Deion's had a hand in this as well and whatnot. This young man feels entitled. It feels like this young man has, like you said, the savior, like how you started it, savior of the NFL, the whole kit and caboodle with him is factored in with this. He thinks he's better than everybody, and he hasn't proven a damn thing in the NFL yet. I think a lot of factors. I think the scouts didn't like what they saw. I think the scouts, with meeting with him and the teams meeting with him, said, who the hell does he think he is? And Deion, I think, did a disservice, and I'm not trying to tell him how to parent his kid or anything, but saying that he's going to control where he goes. Well, here's the result. And people want to be like, oh, blame the NFL. How dare they do that to him and to make a point out of him and everything like that. He did this himself. They did this themselves. And if he would just go to the combine, show off his skills, things like that, and maybe not be an asshole like with other teams and whatnot. There have been multiple reports I've been hearing about how they showed some lowlights. Says, okay, so what would you do, next time? I don't care what I like. And then he gets all upset with them. It's like, who the hell do you think you are, kid? You haven't even played it down yet in the NFL, and you think that you can just say that? I mean, come on. So I think he did this to himself, but I'm going to defend him on this. The prank phone call thing, not cool.
No, definitely not.
I have sympathy about that, and I don't know how that. And again, it sounds like Ulbricht, former Jets coach, now with the Atlanta Falcons as D coordinator. His son did this and whatnot, and that's inexcusable. But I just think that the Sanders did this to themselves. And if you want to shut everybody up, then go work your ass off and show people why they were wrong. Go prove it. So to answer your question, though, it's got my stamp of approval. The Browns don't have anybody at quarterback right about now. They added Dylan Gabriel, which is fine. He's a rookie. Joe Flacco's back with them now. I mean, Deshaun, who the hell knows with him? I mean,
he might never play again.
He might never play, right? Yeah. So I think, it's got my stamp of approval. I wouldn't be shocked if he somehow sneaks up there. But if you want to shut people up, you got to work your ass off and earn the respect of your teammates and not be this cocky little prick that thinks he's entitled to everything. So, the Sanders family, everything that was involved with this, all this the circus that you've put on yourselves, you should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, that's all I have to really say. And this is the result of you guys getting involved in something that maybe you didn't fully understand, but they won't admit it, so it doesn't matter to me. Voldy, what do you think?
Okay, so addressing the elephant in the room here when it comes to where Shedeur stands with the Browns. Of course, a very crowded quarterback room. Of course, we talked about Deshaun Watson. He may never play again for the Browns or the NFL for that matter after rupturing his recently repaired Achilles again this offseason, so probably more surgery for him. They traded for Kenny Pickett. They re-signed Joe Flacco, drafted Dylan Gabriel, and now you've got Shedeur. So basically 4 legit guys in that quarterback room. I don't feel very comfortable with even maybe Kenny Pickett making it out of training camp at this point. I mean, 4 quarterbacks, 3 dress, 1 gets, one most likely practice squad. Boy, if you put Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco as the 1 and 2 there, who's going to be the guy on the practice team? Or is this potential trade bait for the Browns to quite possibly trade either Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur to another team to either get potential players or draft picks for the future? That's the way I kind of look at it right there. But of those guys, I think, and the quote coming from Andrew Berry for the Browns as the GM, Shedeur has the ability to outplay his draft slot. So being picked number 144 in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL draft, I think will now give him enough chip on his shoulder to go out and play for it, because certainly the numbers do speak for themselves. It's unfortunate. I was really hoping he'd go higher in the draft. Is it unprecedented? No. Talked a big game. A lot of factors went into it, of course, with, the negative attitude and, of course, his playing out of the, I shouldn't say playing, but of the interviews and lack of, overall performance from the combine and his pro day too. You look at the other quarterbacks who were taken ahead of him: Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe, and Dylan Gabriel, who are set to be teammates with. A little bit surprising on a couple of those picks, but that's for the other teams to decide there. I don't think it's going to. He definitely has the ability to play on top. I think he has that ability to outplay his draft slot for sure. But does he have enough to beat Dylan Gabriel? Gabriel, 2 guys right there. It'll definitely be quite interesting come training camp. Will he be the 3rd quarterback? I think so. Nothing against Dylan Gabriel. I feel like one of the two is going to get traded. Either they're going to get traded, or I just can't see Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders on the practice squad. I mean, you're going to get the 3 quarterbacks, and then the 4th guy either gets traded or gets let go. One of those 2 guys might not end up on the Browns by the start of the season. So I will say Shadur is going to be the 3rd quarterback on there. I feel like he is definitely going to have a lot more pep in his step come training camp time and try to play out that spot. Who knows? He might even be the starter. Who knows? I mean, the Browns are a franchise that has no luck whatsoever when it comes to finding a consistent enough starting quarterback. And if they do find one, they find a way to mess it up really quick and really fast as well. And addressing the prank phone call thing, there was another guy too that got like 7 or 8 prank phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody talked about it. I think it was like an offensive lineman or something like that. He got like 7 or 8 prank phone calls, and not exactly the best way to start off on the right foot with your new team, with Ulbrecht's son putting his dad in a tough spot there. He gets fined $100,000 while the Falcons get reprimanded $250,000 too. So not a hot start for Jeff Ulbrecht with the new team as well. But I think Shedur's got nothing but the ability to make that 3rd quarterback spot for sure.
He's got to work for it. Can't complain about it. This is the NFL. Work. So, all right. Next one, Voldy.
Yeah, and a late arrival here with absurd or approved, but could quite possibly see a change for a burgeoning NHL franchise, and the power of social media that does not bode anybody any good whatsoever. As the Utah Hockey Club officials could not confirm whether or not their new namesake, the quote-unquote Mammoth, will be the team's new mascot after an alleged leak on the team's official YouTube channel this past Tuesday night, as fans and media noticed that the team's YouTube handle was changed from @Utah Hockey Club to @Utah Mammoth, both on its landing page and URL, as the channel was soon deactivated and remained so as of this morning, not before some screenshots of the name were changed on top of it. Of course, this coming out with the recent announcement that the 3 names that were voted upon for the Utah Hockey Club's namesake were the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Hockey Club to remain, and the Utah Wasatch, named after the Wasatch Mountains of the Utah area, which were quickly swapped out for after Utah Outlaws after the team saw some of the early vote returns. Mammoth made the Final Four in the initial fan vote last year, but again, nothing as of officially announced with the name. Hopefully something to be announced before the start of a new season, as the Utah Hockey Club was originally going to be at least initial indications of the Utah Yeti, but too much closeness and likeness with the Yeti cooler situation as well. But is it absurd or approved after the alleged leaks? Would you approve the name Utah Mammoth as the name for the hockey club for the possible next season?
I'll let actions speak for myself. Approved. Yes. I love it. I like the Mammoth name. I don't know why. I think it fits. Utah Mammoths. That's just something that I think rolls off the tongue well. And also, you can make some pretty badass jerseys, merch, things like that, where I think it makes sense instead of obviously hockey club, you know. I like Utah Mammoth. That is just something that rolls off the tongue pretty quick. And I think, you know, again, this is something that when you have a new team like the Kraken, everyone was all in on that. You know, Vegas, the whole thing. But now that you have the Utah Mammoth, you know, people are going to be buying jerseys, buying merch, and, you know, things like that. So I'm very curious to see what it looks like for sure.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I think it's a great name. It's got my stamp of approval. So what do you think, Voldy? What do you got?
You know, I mean, I was initially out on Mammoth. I was really hoping the Utah Outlaws was going to be my go-to there. But, you know, the more I look at it and how it all plays together, Utah Mammoth phonetically and how it looks, you know, out on words, it's kind of growing on me there. I could definitely get on board with Utah Mammoth. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get all the classic, you know, NHL names that have been around for, you know, hundreds of years, if not dozens of years. Like, I mean, you know, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers, the Boston Bruins, and it gets a little bit weirder towards the back end. The Columbus Blue Jackets, you get the Minnesota Wild, you get the Nashville Predators, and now it's getting a little bit. It can be construed as a little bit cartoony, like the Seattle Kraken, and now you get the Utah Mammoth. Like, you know, all the good names are taken, or at least when it comes to that. But I can get on board with Utah Mammoth, and hopefully they can get their socials medias figured out enough to not lead people astray to where they're at right now. And hopefully an announcement comes out, because they've got a lot of things on their plate right now with trying to build, do renovations on their arena, and of course get a practice facility up for the team also. So, you know what? It's got my stamp of approval for Utah Mammoth also.
Oh, baby!
Might as well. Oh, baby! Yep. So, all right. Well, last one. Voldy.
Oh, we head to the world of the NBA, and of course, after the success the NHL had with its all-star competition being, well, put aside for the Four Nations face-off, the NBA is quite considering a change to its all-star game format with a bit of an international twist. Now, in conversations taking place with, of course, Commissioner Adam Silver and the president of league operations, they both acknowledged this past week that the league is having discussions with the Players Association and broadcast partner NBC, as they're going to be going back to NBC for NBA coverage next season, replacing the All-Star Game's current format with an international competition for next season. Of course, the recent success that saw with the NBA players playing in the Summer Olympics in Paris. Of course, you throw the Four Nations face-off on the NHL side, how that drew in a large number of fans. The All-Star game is set to be played in, of course, this would be 2026 in Los Angeles at the Intuit Dome. The game, of course, which will be aired on NBC, will shift from a Sunday evening to a Sunday afternoon start time, which will allow NBC to directly follow with its coverage of the Winter Olympics that will be taking place in Italy. Of course, we've seen the growing number of not only American players, but international players have great success overall. Of course, you throw in Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Wembanyama, that have voiced their support, even American players like Draymond Green. Now you throw in, of course, these international players, Pascal Siakam, the Joker, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and so many other guys that have played and seen great success at the NBA level coming from overseas. Is it absurd or approved? Will more eyes be drawn to the NBA because we've seen the dwindling numbers when it comes to ratings of their play, at least of watching viewership? Will this draw more eyes to the NBA with the potential change to some international play for the All-Star game?
Well, I think we've talked about this a lot too. The All-Star game, as of right now, has been a absolute, and I'm just going to say it, shit show.
Yep.
It really has. But I like this. And the reason why I like this is because not only do you bring in, your regular audience, but you also bring in more eyes internationally, like we've, talked about. And these teams, the teams that would be international, are quite good. Now, how would you divvy that up? I'm not 100% sure, but this is interesting to me. Instead of, East versus West, guys aren't going to play defense, no one gives a crap, whatever. No, this is going to be now we're talking. Guys are going to take it seriously, and they're going to want to beat, USA versus the world, or however you want to put it. So, I think this makes a whole lot of sense. To what degree, though? That's my question, is how do you divvy it up? Do you have, do you add some countries with Team USA? Do you add Canada with Team USA or something like that for the All-Star game? Or do you keep them with international? I mean, it'd be interesting, to say the least. So,
right.
I like this. I think there will be more eyes drawn to that as opposed to, what's been put together these past few years. Now, the dunk contest has just gotten out of hand. Shout out to Matt McClung, who's been killing it in the dunk contest. God, I miss the good dunk contest. Oh, so much fun. But, it's got my stamp of approval, believe it or not. I think this is actually a good idea. I know they're pretty much copying what the NHL is kind of doing with this too, so with how they're doing things. So, but at the same time, I think it makes sense, and if it works, do it again. So, stamp of approval, Voldy, what do you got?
No, I think this is definitely something that'll draw a little bit more attention to the All-Star game, of course, with the festivities that they have. Of course, everybody's tuning in for the dunk contest, but the dunk contest hasn't really been overall good. I mean, 5-10 years at least, when it was ultra competitive and guys just aren't as invested as they were in years past. The All-Star game itself has been a bit of a joke. The Rising Stars game, too, that used to be at least something worth watching. Now, if you throw in and try to ride the hot hand that NHL had in success with, of course, the Four Nations face-off, that could help them a little bit, especially with what we've seen from the Olympics and also with international play with the FIBA World Cup too in recent years, that definitely had a lot of success, at least drawing some vested fans internationally with play. I mean, I don't see why not. You don't throw this in the mix with as many international players as our American players. Some of the young guys, some of the older guys too, throwing them into the mix, maybe get a little bit of more attention drawn on that. Just be interesting how they break it up. Do you do North American players and on one team, and you throw in guys Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Mediterranean? How's that all play out? How many teams does that really divulge, as opposed to you do round robin, things of that sort? There's a lot of things still yet to be answered, but I think it'll definitely draw a lot more attention and definitely make things a lot more interesting, especially now with them switching over to NBC coverage. Of course, back in the day, NBC was the premier place to find NBA basketball back in the day as well. Very competitive, great viewership on there. That will certainly help them get back to that respect that they've been missing for quite a few years. I think it's definitely got my stamp of approval on top of it.
We will take it, yes. So, again, it's only going to help if you try to make that happen. So, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And, this is, it sounds like the Warriors just gave up in the second half.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they got their backups in. It's 109-87. Steph and Jimmy and the starters are sitting on the bench just chilling.
Damn.
8 minutes left in the fourth. So, all right. It's time for some Shield shoutouts. Voldy's got some Shield shoutouts to get to tonight. So I say we get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
I just got one Shield shout out, of course, coming in official before the start of tonight's show, as Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins becomes the third member of the 100 home run, 100 stolen base club as a member of the Minnesota Twins, joining fellow legendary center fielders in Torrey Hunter and that being Kirby Puckett as the other two members of the 100-100 club with the Minnesota Twins. So congratulations to Buck. Felt like he should have had 100 bases probably 7-8 years ago, but you know what? Better late than never, of course, with the power and speed to go along with it. Hopefully put together a strong season for Byron Buxton, and that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
There you go. So, yeah. Well, stay healthy, Byron. That's all I got to say. A couple things. One, congratulations to, hey, look, it's a Rick for winning the MinneZona Adidas hat for the draft.
Classic.
Congratulations. We'll get that sent off, and, you can wear it around and add to your collection. So, thank you to Rick. And one last thing. Wolves at 5. Yes. And I got a good feeling, Voldy. I'll try to watch as much as I can before I have to go to bed because, I got to work in the morning too. But hopefully it is a Wolves in 5. We will be, taking a look at it, for a little while and whatnot. And hopefully it's a Wolves win. Ant just decimates Luka and LeBron and Reeves and all that. And then I think at the end of the game, Voldy, I would want the Lakers to do one thing. Acknowledge your tribal chief. Nas Reed! Yeah, that's right. So, anyway. Guys, we got merch. We do got merch. We got sweatpants. We got quarter zips. We've got hats. We got something in the works. Not going to reveal what it is, but there's something in the works. Stickers. You know the deal with that. We got the shirts. We got the tumblers. We've got just a whole slew of things for you that if you want it, we can give it to you. We've got plenty of merch. So, that being said, thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And shout out to our guy, Will Rattel, W2 Performance. Check him out at www.w2performance.com or on YouTube. Make sure you check out our guy. And then make sure you check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr., our guy. And make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. They'll be getting going here at some point soon. And make sure you check out Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, and Ryne, Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment. Huge slate of movies coming out, so make sure you get caught up with everything coming out this month. So, that being said, that's going to do it for episode 237. Go Wild. Go Wolves. Wolves in 5. Acknowledge your tribal chief. The whole kit and caboodle. We will keep you up to date, have more fun, and we'll talk to you next week. So with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.